All right, so let's first take off these screws here. So there's gonna be 2 screws right on the top here. And then you got 4 screws on the speaker grills. Let's take those guys off. All right, now we got to figure out how to get this plexiglass off. Okay, so here, again, we don't want to crack it, so I'm just going to take a little tool here and just kind of work the glue out. You can see there's a lot of glue down here on the speakers. Careful not to puncture the speakers, of course. So in my case, it's really on good on the top, so I'm trying to get to it from the back. It's going, it's just a lot of tape in there. Yeah, so for the back, I think getting it to from the top is, for the top piece, getting it to from the back is definitely the way to go. All right, so I got, my tool is bent now, but I got the top piece off. Can actually push it from the back, and then I'll get the top started. Now we got glue on the middle we've got to deal with. Longer screwdriver. All right, I think I got it. So the screen is attached to this piece, so we got to be super careful here. What I'll do is I'll take this off from this side. That's not what I was expecting. So the screen is actually attached to that part. Okay, so let's put a little mark right here. That's where we're gonna have to cut out a little slot. See, they got this little wood piece here. That is gonna be in the way. So I think what we need to do is take our glue gun and relocate that wood piece like down here somewhere. Okay, so we got this little piece off. Okay, so here's a little slot we want to cut out. I'm actually going to make it a little bit bigger here just to give us some extra room. So let's drill on the 4 corners first. My Dremel routing bit. It's not pretty, but that does the job. All right, let's get out our Dremel cutting tool. Always make sure wear safety glasses, of course. And I'm gonna cut out probably a little bigger spot than I actually need. I just want to give myself some extra room. So let's move this up here. That should do it. All right, let's put this guy back together. Tape is still kind of sticky, so. And so this is a VSDISPLAY 8-inch monitor, and this you guys can get on Amazon. And so the display looks like this. And so basically what we're going to do is we're going to do a mount for it. So got a laser cut mount here, and this mount is specially designed for your AtGames Legends pinball machine. So we got the display, we got the controller board, and we got some cables. All right, so let's get to it. So first thing, let's check out what we have in the kit. So this is the display. This you get separately on Amazon. This also you're going to need, this is a little extender cable for this 40-pin LVDS cable. I'll put links in the video. You also get that on Amazon. And then with the kit, got some hardware, got the acrylic cut mounts for the display, and then we got some mounts that for the controller board, and then we got some double-sided tape. So first things first, let's just peel off the protective backing on these guys. Okay, on one of these pieces, you'll notice some tape on the bottom. That's because there's a kind of thin piece here, and we don't want this damaged during shipping. So just be careful. This is the middle piece. Just be careful with this piece because there is a pretty thin piece and you don't want to break it. Okay, and this part you can throw away. You're not going to need that. Okay, notice there's one piece that's labeled top, one piece that's labeled bottom. We'll get to that in a second. Let's first do the monitor. So here's the LCD. And so what you want to do here is start actually with this middle piece. And notice this says up. So very important. So the up, you want to be facing up. And just kind of put this in here like this. And at this point, actually, we do need to remove this protective covering. Yeah, we won't be able to get to it once this is on there. So let's go ahead and remove that. We can put it back on later so we don't scratch it. But for now, we need to remove it. We'll just set that aside. We'll get back to it. This side here, there is no up and bottom. So just both, you can go either way. Symmetrical, so you just want to go like that. And then let's get into our hardware. So there's a bunch of hardware here. Let's just put it all on the table. And what we want right now are these four guys here. There's some nylon plastic ones and there's some metal ones. We want the metal ones. So we want these guys specifically. There should be 4 of them. And then we also want these little hex nut, metal hex nuts. So we'll take 4 of those as well. Sometimes I usually include little extra pieces because people lose them. So if there's a few extras, that's why. All right, so let's take this kind of so we need to flip this over upside down. Okay, so we got it flipped over upside down. And let's make sure everything is still mounted nice and everything lines up with the holes. And so just take this metal guy and then take your hex nut. It does come with this little hex tool here, so you can use this. I just happen to have this in my shop, so it's a little bit faster. And don't over tighten it, just hand tight is fine. All right, so we got that attached. Again, don't tighten it, but don't over tighten it. And now the back piece is right here, and this will just go on. Actually, it'll just actually snap in with friction. So if you just kind of apply a little pressure, it'll just snap in over those. Yeah, you should hear a little snap. You can glue it if you want, but as long as it's nice and sturdy there, you're good to go. And if you see like a little gap there and you can't just kind of squeeze it in by hand, then just take a little, if you've got something like this, just take this guy and just use that to apply a little bit of pressure, and see now there's no more gap. And I think we're good on this side, but just to be on the safe side, we'll do it as well. All right, so that's our mount. And again, that's all held together by friction. And the key here is that we don't want these screws protruding at the back, because this is basically you're just gonna tape this with double-sided tape on your AtGames. So the key is that we don't want anything sticking out. This has to be completely flush. Of course, we've got a little cutout for the ribbon cable, but this is completely flush, as you can see here. So that's the key to this design. All right, so I got a few fingerprints on this guy, so let's just clean those up real quick. And let's just put this back on just to protect it until we're ready to go. Let's set that aside. Now let's do the boards. So on the boards, you've got a piece that's labeled top. This has all the extra kind of markings on it, and then you got a piece that's labeled bottom. So set the bottom one aside. Let's start with the top. And you're going to take all of your nylon screws, that's these guys, nylon plastic, and just take those, and on the bottom just put it in like that, and then take your, again, nylon hex nuts and just screw them on top. And you can do this by hand, or I have a little tool here just to save myself a little bit of time. Actually, I'll use this tool, it's a little bit more efficient. Okay, so let's do that. We got 6 to put in, so let's just do that real quick. All right, so we got those guys. Now let's go ahead and mount the boards. So let's start with this board first. And so notice it says HDMI here, that corresponds to this. So HDMI here, that corresponds to this HDMI connector right there. So just line that up and just kind of press it down. So that's one board. And then this is the controller board. You can control like brightness and on off. And then there's a little remote control that comes with it as well. So we'll just pop that on there. And then we'll take those same plastic nuts and screw it down. Okay, so on this cable, you notice that this side, you don't see any metal connectors, and on this side you see basically the pins. So that, just kind of remember the metal piece, the metal side goes up. This is a little bit of a tight fit, so you may just want to bend it a little bit, and then it'll just pop right in there. All right, so that's the board. And then this is just going to mount on the bottom, and this is just basically a little spacer so we have it flush. So you're just going to use these wood screws to screw it into your back box. And again, this bottom piece, this is just purely a spacer. And then when you look at it, it's purely flush, so we have a nice flush mount. All right, so a couple things I think that aren't super intuitive on this, so things to watch out for. So the first thing is the kit comes with this cable. And so this is actually supposed to plug in here, and then from here you could like power your Raspberry Pi. So in our case, we don't need that, so you can just throw that aside. And instead, we're going to power the actual display based off just a good old-fashioned micro USB cable, which in my kit actually didn't come included. They included a USB-C cable, which is the wrong one. So hopefully yours, they don't do that. But just do a little test, you know, power it on before you mount everything. Just make sure everything's working. So as you can see, once I turn it on, got a blue screen, so that means we're good to go. Now here's the other thing that's really confusing. And let me show you this so you can see what I'm talking about. So again, I'm using the extender cable here. And so we need this extender cable because we need this extra room to mount things. And notice how this is set up. So on the extender cable, let me actually start over. So let me undo these little guys. These are pretty delicate, so just be careful. Okay, so on the extender cable, notice that the blue, right? So this has a metal side and a blue side. I actually thought that the metal side would go in like this, but no, it's the blue side. So on one end, you got the blue side going in here. So you just kind of slide it in as far as you can, and then you just put that notch down like that. Give a little tug. And then same thing on this end. It's not the metal side that goes in the top, it's the other side. So again, not the metal side, the non-metal side goes in here. I found that to be not intuitive, but maybe that's just me. So same thing, plug it in there, clamp it down. And then on this side, the actual board side, it is the metal side. So again, it's not intuitive. So on the board side, you want the metal side, not the blue side, going into the board. Not intuitive, but that's just how it works. Okay, so just make sure you get that orientation right. I plugged it in the wrong way, and it still worked. It didn't fry things, so hopefully, you know, if you plug it in the wrong way, it's not going to fry it. But that's how you want to wire it up. And like I said, just do a quick test. Let's just do it again. Once you got power, you got a blue screen, that means you're good to go. We can continue. All right, so now let's actually mount this guy into our back glass, or back box. So first thing I think what I'll do right now is I will undo this guy so we have that free. We can leave this actually connected, that's fine. Okay, so let's take our double-sided tape, and then I think what we'll do is we'll just do 3 pieces like so. One there, one here, one here. That should be good enough. Okay, so we got our double-sided tape ready to go. Let's get our back box. All right, so let's go ahead and mount this guy to our back box. And so flip it over. And again, I put this protective cover on there so you can touch it without getting fingerprints. And so let's go ahead and do the other side of this double-sided tape. All right, so with this sticky tape, you just kind of got to get into the corners and then peel it off. I've already started that. And very important, let's make sure we put it the right side up. So pretty easy actually, it's kind of hard to screw this up. So just remember that this little thing here is going to go in the little cutout that we made. Put that all in there. And then just center it, you know. It's pretty pretty easy to center this one visually actually. So just center it. I think that looks pretty good right there. And then just press down for a bit. And make sure you get this all the way on the bottom. So see, you got a little bit of clearance here between the bigger display and the smaller one, but you want it, you know, want it to be close. So I'm just going to put some pressure. As I'm doing this, I'm actually holding it from the back as well, just to make sure we get a nice flush mount here. And it turns out this is actually kind of flush with the bottom, so that's kind of lucky there, but that turns out to be nice. So it's actually not sticking out from the back box, which makes it a little bit cleaner. All right, I'm happy with that. See, it's nice and stuck on there. It's not going to go anywhere. All right, now let's flip it over. So now we have everything the way we want it mounted. So just to show you what it looks like without that screen. So pretty clean, pretty happy with this. Let's put this back on. Okay, let's flip it over. Okay, so now we got the back side here. Now I was thinking we're actually going to mount the back of this extender board, but if we do that, this is going to twist and that's not going to work. So in hindsight, you don't need to put the mounting tape on the back of that, and I think we'll just put a little duct tape over it. You could just leave it loose, that would be fine too, but I'm just going to put a little duct tape here. Now we'll just kind of hold it down. Okay. And then here's our other end. And then we're basically just going to put our board. Okay, so remember the board, remember there's that top piece and there's that bottom piece. So this is the time you want to just put those together. And we'll just stick it somewhere where we've got enough room to get to our cable. And remember, on this one, we got the metal side up. So metal side up. So you can see here, I got actually plenty of room. Now, if I didn't have this extender cable, you could probably still do it. I have this LVDS board here. So if I move that out of the way, I probably could have made it actually without having to do this, but it just gives you some extra options. So I'm just gonna, here we got plenty of room. We're good to go. I'm just gonna mount that probably right here. And you can see I got enough clearance, all right? Now this piece here is 1/2 inch thick. So make sure, use the wood screws that I provide you, and make sure that you don't, because remember the monitor's on the other side. So if you use screws that are too thick, you're going to screw into the monitor and destroy it. So obviously you don't want to do that. So use these screws. I've already measured them. They are not going to go all the way through. Normally I would recommend drilling a pilot hole, but here I don't want to do that because then you might actually drill all the way through the wood, which would be a bad thing. So we'll just use this to get that started, and then we can finish it up by hand. All right, nice and sturdy. That's not going anywhere. So then last step, let's just take this. Again, remember this is going to be metal side up, and then just flip this little lever here on the connector. Okay, that's it. So by the way, this is a separate mount. If you're interested, I can include that as well in the kit. This is a mount for the back glass Vibs board for your AtGames, so that's what this is. And then this is the one, of course, we just did. So we're all set. So here's what it looks like, just to give you a little better view. It looks like from the sides. You can see here, you know, it's about flush actually with the bottom. So that's nice. And yeah, pretty happy with it. Again, you've got a small gap between the top of this and then this display, so it's not overlapping. And then here's the back. So we got the mount we just did right there, and then right here, that's the Vibs board. And everything there will connect back up to our main unit.